comments. So Chair Parker is here. Councilmember Allen was here but has stepped out. So Councilmember Hauser is here. Councilmember Mendez is here. Councilmember Sepulveda is here. Sledge is here. Councilmember Suarez absent. Taylor absent. And Toombs is here. Awesome. So we've got quorum, Welsh as well. We've got quorum. Because we have a subject matter expert here to talk about the ARP funding items, we're going to move those to the heel, and we're going to go ahead and get through the rest of our agenda as we work out technical issues. So the first non-ARP item on our agenda is Resolution RS 2022-1691 by Parker, Allen, Welsh, and Suara. This approves amendments to 2 grant contracts for constructing affordable housing between the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and certain nonprofit organizations. So we have a motion moved and seconded. Thank you. If I can, we have Ashley Brown here. If we could go to Ms. Brown just for a quick explanation of what we're amending here and what issue we're solving with these amendments. If you have I'll turn the admin table on, and you should be on. Thank you, Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Chair Parker. This is a resolution for the extension of these 2 grant contracts. The Housing Trust Fund Commission did approve both of these grant amendments. The first one is only for 6 months for Renewal House, as they've already actually received their final use and occupancy for the 34 units that Barnes granted $1.8 million for. So this would just allow us to process their kind of final payout and their drawdown. And then the other extension is for 12 months for Urban Housing Solutions, which is 118 units of the Skyliner property. So this just allows them a little bit more leeway on their time, since a lot of the constraint came from pandemic and also the materials that they were using. They had some downstream petroleum issues that they dealt with, but they provided ample evidence and support for this extension through updated construction timelines for the Housing Trust Fund Commission, which allowed them to approve it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions about this resolution? Comments, anything? Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and vote on Resolution RS 2022-1691. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say no. Any abstentions or not voting? Great, so I've got 7-4. Thank you. Okay. Ms. Brown, did you cover the second when in your explanation of the first one? You do not. Okay, thank you. Up next, we've got RS 2022-1692, and similar, this is by Parker, Allen, Welsh, and Suara, and similarly, this approves the 3rd amendment to a grant contract for constructing affordable housing between the Metropolitan Housing Trust Fund Commission and Affordable Housing Resources. So I'm going to go again to Ms. Ashley Brown for a brief explanation of this legislation.
Sure thing. This is actually a grant from the same round. However, we had to do a 2nd amendment without an actual timeline extension, since they reduced their unit count and returned some funding, since their level of subsidy was not able to meet the Barnes requirement at that time. However, this extension is primarily for titling issues, since all of the lots that are left on this grant are back tax properties, so they're just waiting to get those titles cleared. It would allow an extra 12 months for them to clear title and actually start the actual pre-development and construction work on those properties. So the Housing Trust Fund Commission did approve this unanimously after Affordable Housing Resources spoke to the Commission.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions or comments about 1692? All right, thank you. So all those in favor, we'll go and take a vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? 7 again on that, right? Thank you. All right, next on our agenda are 4 ARP fund items. We're gonna kick those to the heel. We do have a bill on second reading. This is BL 2022-1381 by Parker, Allen, Van Rees, and other. This bill amends Chapter 5.04 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws, requiring payments in lieu of taxes made by the Convention Center Authority to be dedicated for affordable housing initiatives. Do we have a motion? Moved and seconded. Thank you. Do we have any questions or discussion about this bill? So I'll go first to Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Allen, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Just one question about if that money, the language here just talks about being dedicated to affordable housing initiatives. At one point, we had talked about it specifically for the Barnes Fund. I see some value and some flexibility, so if we could just get an official statement on how, exactly what things that money could be used for.
Thank you. We'll go to the administration table. Mr. Jameson or Director Hubbard.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Allen. And you're correct. There was initial discussion originally limited or restricted to Barnes Fund. Wanted to provide the additional flexibility. Only currently the Barnes Fund is sort of flush with cash, but catching up to the development. And so to make sure we don't compound that problem by overfilling their coffers, so to speak, wanted to make sure that we had, through all development opportunities, affordable housing development, that we could make these allocations toward.
And then follow-up question.
Yes.
Would the decision to use it in other places come back to the council so we would be aware of how it would be used?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sledge, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I want to follow up on these comments because I keep hearing this term about how the Barnes Fund is flush with cash. Can somebody from the Housing Office sort of talk about what the current balance of the Barnes Fund is and how those revenues are being dedicated?
I've got Ashley Brown here from the Housing Office.
Thank you, Councilmember Sledge. So the Barnes Housing Trust Fund, although the coffers, so to speak, do have funds in them, primarily all of those funds are obligated to developments that are just under construction or in pre-development work. Currently, there is about $40 million in the actual fund for Barnes Fund that is already obligated to developments. There's an additional $20 million that was from FY23, as well as some fund balance that was carried year to year that will be going out in future grant rounds to be determined by the Housing Trust Fund Commission. However, year to year, the fund balance is not always $20 million. It's just whatever is allocated to the Barnes Fund from the operational costs year to year, and then we put in whatever we have left in our fund balance to make sure that as much money as possible is going out into the community to do work.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. When would you anticipate that $20 million that this body allocated would come to us to be obligated?
I would anticipate we are planning to speak with the commission next week on Tuesday about future funding round for that specific $20 million amount. They have a couple of options there. They could still decide to split the pot between two funding rounds. They could postpone it to a future funding round. I'm not at liberty to decide for them what that will look like yet because they haven't discussed those options. However, I would think that they would probably come in May to council next spring for obligation purposes.
So you would anticipate by the end of this current fiscal year that those funds would be obligated as well?
Correct.
Gotcha. So that's what I want to get to, is the fact that there's this phrase that keeps getting thrown around for whatever reason that says that the Barnes Fund is flush with cash when 2/3 of its current balance sheet is already obligated, and it will be up to this body to obligate after the Housing Trust Fund makes its recommendations. To remind the body, we put $15 million of operating funds in. That leaves 15 more to match the $30 million that we did prior fiscal year and what matches the recommendation of the Affordable Housing Task Force, which I think all of us on this body, at least this committee, feel committed to. So I have a bit of a problem by creating what's termed flexibility in this bill when it could be put toward anything. We've put affordable housing funds toward infrastructure in the past, very worthy infrastructure, but I think we need some guardrails placed on this legislation to know exactly where this money on a pilot is going to, if at least a list of things it could go to, so that we're not asked in 3 to 6 months to come back for something that perhaps this committee and this body didn't anticipate. With that, I would ask for a 2-meeting deferral of this bill.
All right, we've got a 2-meeting deferral moved by a committee member. We have a second on a 2-meeting deferral? Second. Seconded. Can I ask administration, is there anything particularly timely about this legislation that would be potentially negatively impacted by a deferral?
No, this is just creating a dedicated revenue source for the affordable housing initiatives, Barnes Fund primarily, but other options. To the extent council members wants that itemized, we can do that within the 2-meeting deferral period and go from there.
Thank you. I recognize Council Member Mendez.
And I'm sorry I stepped out of the room for the first half of this conversation, so hopefully I'm not repeating another comment. I just want to add, in addition to the issue that Council Member Sledge mentioned, it's not dedicated. It's dedicated for 1 year only. Any given time, the council can undo it. Those of us who were here last term will remember there at one point there was a totally firm commitment to a 3-year pay plan, and it lasted 1 year because it got changed in subsequent legislation. So calling it dedicated, it's at best intention to keep doing it in the future, not a dedicated source. And so I just want to make sure we keep our eye on the fact that we can call it dedicated, but it's not. Thanks.
Thanks, Councilmember. And the way that I sort of think about this is we're establishing a intentionality might not be the right word, but where in order to change this decision in the future, it would have to come through 3 readings. It would have to have another ordinance of its own in order to change this, is my understanding.
That's, I think, flatly incorrect. Like, somebody could put one sentence in the budget ordinance that says, hey, that bill that we did, and don't do it this year, and it wouldn't happen. And that's how the pay plan got undone a couple of years ago. The firm, total, hard commitment to a pay plan. It was just one sentence in the budget ordinance, and it's undone.
Well, that's great to know. Something to look out for. All right, so we've got a 2-meeting deferral on the table. Any other discussion, questions about the deferral motion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of a 2-meeting deferral, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any not voting? We got 8 now. Thank you. All right, so we're going to go back to these ARP items. We've got 4 of them total. IT, do we have communication with the subject? Okay. Ms. Horn-Koch, are you able to hear us at this point? Do I need to hit a button for... Okay. We're still sorting through technical difficulties.
Testing.
Hi, can you hear us?
Testing.
We can hear you here in the chamber. Are you able to hear us?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes that you can hear us?
Yep. Are they talking to me right now?
I am here in the chamber, and I'm hoping that you can hear me, Ms. Horn-Koch.
Can you talk to me through the computer?
I only have a microphone. I don't have a...
They're talking to me now, and I can't hear them.
I can continue talking. We may just need to not be able to have the person here because we're 5 minutes from budget and we have 4 relatively consequential items to get to. She'll be able to hear me, but not y'all well.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Testing?
All right, folks, I think we're going to have to, move on. If we could get that feed out of the speakers, please. Apologize, everyone. Okay, so here we go. We begin with RS 2022-1696 by Sepulveda, Gamble, Parker, and others. This appropriates $25 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund Number 30216 to the Metropolitan Development and Housing Authority to provide low-cost loans to developers for the addition of deeply affordable units with low proceeds to be used to address affordable housing and homeless services. Do we have a motion? Moved and seconded. Thank y'all. I'm going to go to the lead sponsor, Councilmember Sepulveda, in the back.
Thank you, Chair. This is one of the items that came before the ARP committee. I'm actually going to be deferring this, but before I do, I wanted to give my colleagues an opportunity to ask questions. I know that I've received several calls, and I know that several of my colleagues here have several questions. And so I'm gonna give us time to ask some of those questions, and if there are any providers who haven't received all of the information, so they can receive the information and then also submit questions. So I'll go to the table from the administration and MHID to answer any of those.
Councilmember, is that a deferral to a date, sir?
I'm going to move to defer until the first meeting in October because I know several council members wanted to be here for that.
All right, do we have a second? All right, so we've got a motion to defer to the first meeting in October, and I'll start with Councilmember Mendez for discussion.
Well, I'll start with a question for you, Chair. Just given the time that you mentioned and the motion to defer to the first meeting in October, I mean, I've got on this one 6 or 7 questions, and I'm happy to ask them. I don't need all the answers today, or if it's going to be deferred, I don't know if you want to set a date by which people can submit questions. I mean, I can do it either way.
My thinking is that given our technical issues and the fact that we know this one's going to be deferred, we can wait to have this discussion when we have our subject matter expert present. But if you are able to submit questions, who in the council staff can we direct those to and collect those with? Danielle. So if you would please, if you have questions about this legislation, please email Danielle Godin in our office. She will gather the questions, and we will give as much notice as possible ahead of the October 1st, or the first meeting in October. Does that work for everyone?
Do you want those closer to now or closer to October?
I'd say closer to now if we can get them.
All right.
Would be the preference.
Okay, so I'll save my questions and just get them in writing.
Thank you. Anybody else? We've got a 2-meeting deferral on the table. I'll go to Councilmember O'Connell. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's a deferral to the first meeting in October is what's on the table. Councilmember O'Connell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the recognition. I'm not on the committee, but having just rolled off the Homelessness Planning Council, some of these are of particular interest to me. I've submitted a couple of questions related to the sort of summary sheets that the administration sent out. I'll make sure that Ms. Godin gets those in our office as well, because I think it would be good to, I think we've done this a few times in the past before where we'll send those in, and I just want to make sure that the process here, and Ms. Darby may have a comment on this, is that we will get those questions in, and then we'll basically get a digest back, I'm assuming, of answers to the extent that those are available. Is that fair?
Yeah, and I mean, just for clarity, let's get those questions in regarding this legislation by the end of this calendar month, so by the end of August. That will allow time for everything to be clarified, if that works for this body. Anything? I'm sorry. Anything else, Councilor?
No, just making sure, because I'm also interested in the questions that others are submitting, and so I want to see what the collective body of Q&A is, and just want to make sure that that's what we're intending to produce here.
Absolutely, and as always, we submit questions ahead of time as a courtesy to staff and to the folks who are going to be answering the questions, but you're always welcome to ask questions on the floor as well. So,
Yep. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Mr. Chair.
did I see Councilmember Sledge or no? Okay, go to Councilmember Sledge, then Councilmember Allen.
Thank you,
You're on.
Chair. I'll take advantage of your courteous nature and ask a couple questions on the floor. So regarding this program, so I actually of the package that comes forward, I think the other 25 seems pretty cut and dried. This one seems a little bit odd to me from a programming standpoint. I think I understand it. I'm a little concerned about the mechanism and the order of operation. So could somebody from, whether it's Office of Housing or the administration, talk a little bit about order of operations? Because what we received from the administration says, like, we haven't identified the developers yet. We don't know what the demand is, but we think it'll do 120 units. I'm just trying to see what the basis of, like, how did the contours of this come to be sketched out, both dollar amount and unit count wise, when we don't know what the demand is?
Is anyone from the administration table able to answer that today?
Am I on?
I can
Okay.
answer.
Can you hear us, Stacy?
Yes, I
It
can.
sounds like she heard the question. So obviously the demand is more than money that we have, but Stacy, why don't you take a stab, and then MDHA is also here and we can fill in with the answers.
So folks, this is Stacy Horn-Koch, I believe, who is one of our lead consultants on the study. So you're recognized. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will answer part of the question on the demand. And so we have been meeting with various closing attorneys and multifamily developers that already work within the affordable housing field. There are significant gaps out there in housing. And there is significant interest in this, provided that we also implement the supportive services that are necessary. But there are developers that are interested, that are experiencing a gap that has occurred after they had already stacked and layered their financing. Some of the deals are already underway. And so this is designed to bring units on very quickly. I've been talking to Ellington, Halliday, and a closing attorney, Dwayne Bennett. I'm sorry, I don't have it in front of me. And I've also been speaking with other developers, Waddell Wright, who is newly on the HPC. And so there is interest in this type of work, because there are cost overruns in almost every development that is occurring now because of the volatility in the cost of materials, labor, insurance, et cetera. As to the administration, I am going to turn that over to Amel, who is hopefully there. I believe there.
Yes, let me turn on the public table. Sir, if you'd please introduce yourself.
Sure. Emil Alexander. I'm the Director of Community Development at MDHA. Excuse me. We'd recently brought in a consultant to sort of average the total construction costs to sort of build a unit for families at 30% and below. So we came up with $285,000 per unit for an average cost. We estimated that if developers are applying to us using other forms of subsidy as leverage, we would need to put in about $200,000 per unit. So if you take the $25,000, use a 5% admin fee, you get about $250. And if you divide that by 200,000, you get a little bit over 118. So we rounded that up to 120 to give you sort of an approximate estimate. But the final number will really be determined upon the amount of applications that we receive and how those projects are structured.
So, Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to ask MDHA. So, based on what we were provided, it mentioned that these would be going to projects that were already either LIHTC eligible or receiving other sort of federal funding. I guess my question would be, to my understanding, most, if not all, those projects would also be eligible for something like project-based vouchers, which would be administered through MDHA, would hit much of the similar income levels. What distinguishes this program from something like a project-based voucher program?
So this is for development itself, and certainly some of the developers may have project-based vouchers they've already applied for. That is an eligible form of subsidy. It's particularly for developments who've already been awarded a home award, a low-income housing tax credit award, and their total development costs have increased. So we're paying, giving out a loan for the difference in that gap. So a developer could apply to us already having a project-based voucher and having an increase in development costs, or apply to us with a low-income housing tax credit and have an increase in development costs.
And do you believe, based on your experience, that you would see a developer come who has project-based vouchers who would see additional demand for this program as well?
I'm not sure. I mean, when we looked at crafting the program and looked at other models in other states, it's really primarily targeted to low-income housing tax credit, home, actual development subsidies. I have to do a little more research on project-based vouchers.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I guess.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I'm sorry. It's hard to tell if I'm interrupting, so I apologize. The difference is that most of these will already have some project-based vouchers. We are, through this program, acquiring additional vouchers that are targeted to be awarded strictly through coordinated entry for people who are experiencing homelessness. And so that's the major difference, in that there are choice vouchers that MDHA has out and other entities, and those have a different eligibility criteria. This program is targeted specifically for new units to be brought on for use solely through coordinated entry, if that clarifies anything.
That does. Does that also include VASH vouchers as well? Okay. Yes. Great. Thank you. All right. Thanks. I'll send some more questions to the administration, but colleagues, this is kind of where I want to, and I'm the one who gets into the weeds on this sometimes, but this is where I want to really push on this, because look, we don't know what the total demand is, and these are ARP funds. So we got to get these. This is a loan program, so we got to get these dollars out the door by a deadline for the first go round. And if we don't know what the deadline is, we risk returning these to the federal government. So I would like, between now and then, to have a little bit more clarity on, hey, what's the actual demand here? Because putting $25 million up with, by the way, a 5% administrative fee, meaning $1.25 million goes over to MDHA just for administration. But this is the last round of ARP we get. Like, we got to know that the dollars going out the door are going to be used appropriately. So thank you, Chair. I appreciate you giving us the time.
Thank you. I believe I had Councilmember Allen and then Councilmember Hauser.
Thank you. Just a technical question. Back to the questions and the answers that we're going to be putting together in a digest. Would that be in the form of a SharePoint that we could get reminded of the link to on a regular basis, so that it would all be out there? That'd be really helpful. I mean, if y'all did such a great job, by kind of grouping things, and it was logical and easy to find stuff, and really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yes, that sounds great. We will go to at Glover's desk, Councilmember Hauser.
Yes, my question is just a point of clarity. I noticed here that typically when we talk about affordable housing, we talk about a percentage of average median income. It's a 50%, 30%, whatever. And this just says deeply affordable housing units. And so I just need some clarity when it says deeply affordable. Are we to assume that means 30%, or?
I think that means 0 to 30, but I'll allow myself to be
I think it would be helpful to have that included in here, exactly what we're saying, because that could be interpreted differently by different people.
0 to 30?
It is 0, sorry.
Yeah, you're on, sorry.
Okay. It is 0 to 30, and in the handout that you have, it describes that. So each of you should have gotten a multi-pager on each piece of legislation that I think Mr. Jameson sent out to the council members on Friday.
Thank you. Okay. Well, any other questions or comments on, we have I'm sorry, I keep wanting to misspeak. We have a meeting deferral on the table to the first meeting in October. Any other discussion, questions about that? All right, seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you. We recommend deferral to the first meeting in October. Is that 8? Thank you. Up next, another ARP bill. We've got RS 2022-1697 by Sepulveda, Gamble, Parker, and others. This appropriates $9 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund Number 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services to build capacity in Housing First case management services, including establishing assertive community treatment teams. Do we have a motion on 1697? Great. We will go to Councilmember Sepulveda, the lead sponsor of this legislation. Sepulveda, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I was actually wondering if we could take the remaining items together, because in talking with my colleagues on the floor and my fellow colleague on the ARP committee, we were wondering if we could just defer them all to the same meeting in October, which is the first meeting in October, to give us more time to ask questions, get those responses, and see where we go from there.
I'm fine with taking them together. I'll have to read all of them. And so what's being proposed is to take 1697, 1698, 1699 together. 1698 would appropriate $9 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services for temporary interim gap housing. RS 2022-1699 appropriates $7 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds from Fund Number 30216 to the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Metro Social Services to establish a low-barrier housing collective and to fund competitive grants for support services. Are there any objections to taking these three items together? All right, seeing none, we will do so. So we've got the three ARP things on the agenda together now. The motion was to also put these to the first meeting in October. I'd like to ask the administration, is there anything timely about these that is of concern to y'all?
So the one pager that says temporary gap housing, that's resolution 1698, is definitely the most timely. And if you'll indulge me to explain just a couple of the elements and why it's timely.
Sure, we'll hear it.
Most importantly, right now, we have 85 individuals that are temporarily being housed at a hotel. There have been recent incidents that we've been in conversation with the nonprofits that are using MDHA funds to put them in the hotel. That MDHA money cannot be used to provide armed security at that hotel. It's a disallowable use of money. This money before you in that ordinance can be used to pay for security at the hotel. So I think on that element, particularly if that is deferred till October, then that means later in October, we bring to you a contract for a nonprofit to secure the armed security, which then means probably at the earliest November is when we can get armed security, which means August, September, and October, those residents may have issues. We had a shooting there last week. My understanding is there was an attack the week before that. So my concern is, do we want to wait 3 months? Now, if the council wants to do that, that is their choice. The other piece of it is related to temporary housing. The two other elements that are in there are related to securing temporary housing with the faith-based community and the micro-housing community. If those pieces don't first come to council in October and the contracts to the nonprofits to run the micro-housing community or to expand the mobile housing navigation have to come back to council, that may be then more November when that comes to you, and then startup time, we start getting into winter, and it may then be December or January before we can get folks off the streets into those units. So I would say of the three pieces, 1698 is the one that is much more time sensitive than the others.
Thank you. I've got a couple council members in the queue. We'll go first to Councilmember Mendez. You're recognized.
I guess this is a comment more than a question. 1698 is the one that struck me as the most half-baked, not quite ready for prime time, still figuring out the details. And so I reached out to a couple different people in the advocacy space and heard the same phrase that came to my mind, half-baked, on this one in particular. And so this is the one that I most wanted to push off before I heard that others were interested in pushing them all off. And I guess the last comment I would say is there's no way that, at least for this one vote, that out of $50 million worth of spending federal relief dollars, that the only thing I'm going to vote for is to provide armed security, sending cops with guns to watch over homeless folks. I know it's an issue. Let's have standalone legislation if security is the thing. So to me, we'll need some other solution other than deferral as far as I'm concerned, and I am interested in pushing this one off to October.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. I've got Councilmember Johnston.
Can I help?
I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I forgot. We've got lead consultant, Ms. Horn-Koch, on the line. You're recognized for comment.
Thank you. I wanted to add, as Ginger was speaking, armed security is certainly not the most important part of what we were hoping to do with that. I think that the hotels need to be deconcentrated and spread a little bit out among the city. And more importantly, there need to be residential advisors or resident management staff that facilitate the residents' interaction with the coordinated entry and with the housing services that the case management services that are to come on board. And so I only wanted to make that clarification on that, because I didn't want it to sound like we were advocating for armed services to manage this. We are really advocating for having a staffed facilities with much lower concentration than that which exists currently at one particular hotel. That's all.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to return to the queue. I've got Councilmember Courtney Johnston, who's a member of the ARP committee, but not of this committee, but we will recognize you.
I appreciate that, Chair. Actually, that statement just further solidifies that we absolutely need to push this off, because there's different stories coming from different folks. I'm very close to 95 Wallace Road, which is the rapid rehousing facility that we're talking about. And we are not able to provide property management or any type of security when we don't utilize the entire hotel. And so right now, that's a 120-unit property, and we're utilizing 35 of those. I will tell you, if you go there, I've been there. I've housed someone there before. It needs security, and not necessarily for against the people that are living there, but for the people that are coming there taking advantage, human trafficking and drugs and things like that. So my question, because I was told that out of this $9 million, the security was going to be a part of that. I said, okay, well, how long do we have funding to sustain this rapid rehousing project at 95 Wallace Road? I'm told till the end of 2025. That's 3 years. So then the question is, okay, if we're going to be providing security, how much is security for each year? I was never given an answer. I will tell you that if you hire off-duty police officers, you're going to be paying over $1 million a year. So that's $3 million out of the 9. million. So then you're down to $6 million. What's the rest of the $6 million going to do? Is it a pilot program for the microhousing community? Well, the microhousing community for 3 years is over $6 million. It's almost $7 million. So we can't even pay for a 3-year pilot for that. And we want, if we're going to do microhousing, we don't just need one community to service 50 people. We have a much bigger need than 50 people. Again, half-baked, I have to say, I agree with that statement 100%. The other problem with me allocating any dollars of this $50 million is without a plan, what are we really doing? We have not seen a plan. We haven't seen a short-term plan. We haven't seen a long-term plan. We haven't seen a maintenance plan. And what is the point of trying to empty out the bathtub when we don't turn off the faucet? We need a strategy. Everybody that's in this space needs to be involved in this conversation, from social services to the nonprofits to the police to whoever is working in this space, the DA. We need a plan. We don't have a plan. Why would you allocate $1, much less $50 million, when you don't have a plan and you don't have costs solidified, you don't have any of that?
Respectfully, we are 20 minutes
I know,
over.
I'm sorry.
I would like to focus on the legislation and the motion before us.
Yes, so the motion, I'm not on the committee, but I support deferring all of these until the first meeting in October, like the sponsor has moved.
Thank you, Councilmember. I've got Welsh and then Sepulveda. Councilmember Welsh, you are recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to echo my colleagues' comments about this particular proposal. Of all of the proposals presented to us, I think that this is the one that is the most half-baked. In particular, if you just look at the cost breakdown here, why would we be spending 6 times as much money on microhousing to serve the same number of people that we can serve with mobile navigation centers? It just makes absolutely no sense. I feel like I agree with my colleague, CM Johnston. We do need a plan. I have to be honest, I was very disappointed in the reporting that we got even from phase 1 of this project, because I don't feel like it was very comprehensive. And had it been more comprehensive, we would have at least the outlines of a plan. I don't think that these are well thought out, and I don't think it's a good expenditure of the money. And so I definitely support a deferral to the first meeting in October. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, I've got the lead sponsor again, Councilmember Sepulveda. You're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Just real quickly, because the project we're talking about having security at, that is in my district. And just so y'all know, I have been having conversations with the commander and that South Precinct, and we have talked about different options. And right now the administration is helping me. So Mohammed with the administration is helping me going around the businesses, getting no trespassing waivers done to help with a lot of the issues we're having there. We do have a lot of human trafficking issues, and I have also asked if there's a possibility to put streetlights. So there are other steps we are taking, but security has been something that that property owner has been asking for a long time. But I will continue to have conversations with the administration, the property owner, and the South Precinct in the meantime. But I am okay with the deferral until the first meeting in October.
Okay, so again, we've got a motion on the floor. This is to recommend deferral to the first meeting in October. Any more discussion, questions about that motion in particular? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Any not voting? Thank you. Was that 8? All right, that concludes the business of the Affordable Housing Committee. Budget is up next. Thank you all.